Hello, it's Wednesday the 13th of July and I'm Bob. My theme this week is island life. This article and the problems of ferry construction at Port Glasgow, connecting the islands off the west coast of Scotland, they prompted me to think of what island life is like at the moment, compared with the 60s. I was fortunate enough to spend 5 years of my childhood on the island of Arran in the Clyde. Perhaps you've been there on holiday or seen the brochures, Scotland in miniature, or come to the Clyde, the Riviera of Scotland on your doorstep. Sure enough, palm trees do grow in the south of the island, thanks to the Gulf Stream flowing in from the Atlantic, past the Mull of Kintyre. But the glossy leaflets from the tourist board, they don't mention the midges, or the September storms, the high rainfall, or being stranded when the ferries fail. Our family moved there when I was 11. Imagine my delight in travelling across Scotland from a third-floor tenement in Dundee to a two-storey manse in Whiting Bay in the south of the island, with a front and back garden, a 50-yard walk down to a silver sandy beach, and an ever-changing view from the front room window, the vista of a sea horizon and a far shore 15 miles away. On a clear day, I could see from Ardrossan all the way down the Ayrshire coast to Girvan and the stump of Ailsa Craig. I joined the local primary school with my little sister. One long room with a dividing partition. She was in the P1 to 3N with a lady teacher. I was in the other with Mr. MacDonald, the headmaster who spoke with a kindly West Highland accent. He was from the Isle of Lewis and taught the P4 to 7s. It was a new experience, strange, coming from Harris Academy in Dundee with 40 pupils in one P6 room and hundreds milling about the playground and marching smartly along the corridors, to this half of a room in a rural school with 30 kids in 4 class groups aged from 5 to 12, being taught in rotation by one man, with the older pupils asked to help out the wee ones occasionally as pupil teachers. Many of you have experienced this in rural schools in Scotland. The difference here was, when you looked out the window or went outside to play, you saw and heard the sea. It took some getting used to. The incessant waves pulsing on the shore, especially in the quiet of the evening in our new home. I was to learn that living in a small coastal village, everything was coloured by the sea and the weather. Sometimes it was peaceful and calm, the water like a mill pond reflecting the blue sky. You could skim stones on the mirror-like surface. You could take off your socks and shoes and paddle in the clear, cold salt water lapping round your ankles. But sometimes it was wild and frightening. In autumn and winter, the wind whistling up the Clyde whipped up the white horse waves as they crashed into the rocks and sandy beach, and then the rattle as the pebbles were dragged back into the shallows. You stayed well back, and next morning the salty smell and the sight of heaps and lines of seaweed along the high tide mark were the evidence of the storm, intermingled with driftwood, dead jellyfish, sandhoppers jumping, and all the jetsam of passing ships. It was a new world. I had so much to explore and to learn. The culture of the place also took some getting used to. It was quiet in the winter. But that first summer, we suddenly realised this was a tourist destination. The village came alive with weekend trippers, holiday makers, hill climbers arriving on foot, by steamer, by car and bus, sailors in every sort of craft tying up at the jetty. Every villa on the shore road opened for business as a hotel or a B&B. Every room let to customers. the landlady and family often moving out to a hut in the back garden in favour of the Glaswegians here for the fair. The stationer, the gift shop, the craft centre, the post office, the bank, all hiring extra staff and geared up for British and foreign travellers. New accents to get used to, car parks full and beaches crowded. It was exciting. That first 18 months for me was an idyllic time in my life. But reaching the end of primary 7 meant secondary school, and that meant leaving home. That story is for another time. During the summer, a team of 12 from the Children's Special Service Mission in Glasgow would come to the village for a month, stay in a hostel set aside for them, and organise open-air worship, games, activities, meetings and picnics Monday to Saturday for all the holiday makers' children. The team were Scripture Union members, divinity students and church members determined to present the gospel in a fun way to all youngsters. They would hold worship among the sand dunes at 9 o'clock each morning, ring a bell, set up a banner and an upturned lemonade crate as their pulpit, a chalkboard for visual aids and notices, chorus books handed out for singing to the music of a portable harmonium set up in the sand, worked by foot pedal bellows. Children were divided up into teams with coloured badges for the month, pirates, spacemen, competing for points, scoring for attendance at worship, prowess at the various tasks and challenges given. Sometimes the girls would decorate the sand behind the pulpit with flowers and shells and rope to suit the theme. There were team games of puddocks, a form of rounders, in the afternoon at the local field, teenage squash meetings at the hostel with a biblical theme, and sausage sizzles with cremola foam along the beach in the evening. No barbecue stoves, just sausages and tatties wrapped up in foil and dropped in the bonfire embers. Delicious once you scraped off the black bits. Parents must have been delighted that the kids were taken off their hands for portions of each day by these enthusiastic, responsible Christians. I read today that many a child went home with a new understanding of the gospel, keen to be active in their local church, or even enter the ministry after being inspired by a seaside mission. At the end of July, we said our goodbyes, and a new team of CSSM would take over for August. A new set of holidaymakers' children. Oh, happy days. Perhaps today, missions like this should be brought back in the Church of Scotland. I hope you manage a holiday this year. Blessings, everyone, and have a good week.